Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Educator's Lens. Today we have Neil, and he is a social servant of over 20 years. He has primarily served misunderstood youth as a social worker, gang prevention interventionist, career counselor, and case manager. He currently serves at Promise Youth as a restorative justice and wellness specialist in an alternative setting in Southern California. His approach to working with youth is often unscripted and honest, but warm and inviting. His motto is, if not me, then who? And he approaches every student with the mindset of being the adult he needed when he was in their shoes. Welcome today, Neil.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
I'm recording from the traditional and unceded territories of the Matsqui, Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations, and it is a beautiful fall day as we were talking before. It sounds like it's gorgeous in both BC and in California, so the sun is shining on us today and this conversation. So I want to get us started, loosen us both up with a little bit of this or that questions. These are light but revealing. You can dig into one or just move past whatever you'd like.
Sure.
All right, so street smarts or book smarts?
Street smarts. I feel like working with youth, I have to understand them and understand their elements, their background, and where they come from. And if I try to approach them with book smarts, especially in an alt ed setting, they may look at me sideways like, who is this guy? And so I want them to know I am a friend, not a foe, and an adult that hopefully eventually can earn their trust.
All right, let's do another one. Early intervention or late redemption?
I got a chuckle out of this one because in my current role, if I choose early intervention, which I believe should be the case, then I'm potentially out of a job. So, yeah.
Feel you.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, let's go to silence or storytelling.
I am creeping into my 50s. The phrase silence is golden just means so much and hits on so many levels.
I remember a professor in university telling me he was around the same age, and he was like, I never wished that I could sleep when I was younger, and now I've gotten to this place where if I go to sleep, it's going to be quiet and peaceful, and so now I'm just like, maybe this idea of death is not so bad.
Okay. Eternal silence indeed, yeah.
Yeah, eternal silence. His house must have been very chaotic. All right, hope or hustle?
Hope, especially in this time. The US is in a crazy time right now, and so all I can give is hope.
I really send my thoughts and prayers to you guys right now. I actually had to cancel news because it was just so sad to see all the division and the sadness, and it starts to look pretty apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's a scary time, but that's why hope, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's beautiful. All right, let's hop into our deeper dive into practice and philosophy. And I want to help unpack some of Neil's approach and challenge for our listeners so that they can reflect on their own too. So, what does restorative justice look like to you, and what might it look like in a classroom where trust has been broken?
Okay, so for me, I love how you opened up with acknowledging the keepers of the land. And at its core and its foundation, restorative work focuses on connection. And the land keepers knew that. Not just connection with one another, but connection with the soil, the animals, the flora and the fauna, the air, life and of death. And so for me, restorative work is connecting with my students, their environment, introducing them to my environments and environments that we've come across along our paths, and sharing and storytelling and thus connecting. As far as restorative in the classroom setting where trust is broken, I often find that there's always a divide between adults and kids. You
Mm.
know, you go back, there's a song from the 90s, Parents Just Don't Understand. And Robin, you're a parent, and I'm a parent. And I find that we actually do. It's just that we've either tricked or fooled ourselves into thinking we know better and we know more. And the truth of the matter is, those kids know about as much of parts of life we've never experienced. And so when the trust is broken, how do I even begin a restorative conversation? Just a simple talk. Remove the policy, the procedure, remove the agenda, and just talk. And we find the connection and we steadily, slowly build a bridge. And then we restore. And then there's hope.
That's so important, I think, right now, too. I support in a lot of schools, and there's this divide, I think, sometimes between staff and the parent community, and almost like this fear of having these conversations because they do get so emotionally charged so quickly. And I think I love that approach of just removing all of the expectations and just wanting to meet and with the purpose of connection.
Mhm.
And maybe that would help to lower some of the tensions that come out of these scary
Absolutely.
conversations.
Yes, yes. I mean that's truly it. I mean, at the end of the day, we all just want to be seen and heard. But I feel like a lot of our youth are institutionalized or they just are familiar with the process. And so if you go in almost robotic like, they look at you like, oh, okay, so he's going to open up with this and then he's going to transition into that. I've done this before through therapy, through this, through that. But what if it was just, hey, Robin, how are you today? And just
Yeah.
keep it baseline and simple.
Start with zero expectation and just see where it goes from there. I love that. It sounds like you've been in some very challenging conversations yourself. And so I'm curious, how do you quickly build rapport with youth who've been conditioned not to trust adults?
So my approach when meeting youth for the first time is almost like a shock and awe, you know, because they already anticipate how the dialogue may start, how it may um, continue, and how it'll end. I'll just come out with it. And sometimes I curse in front of youth. Sometimes I'll curse in the classroom. And oh my gosh, what did he? But when the kids realize, wait a minute, I don't have to waste so much of my brain power trying to find the right words to appease this adult.
Mm.
He's talking my language. You just feel the weight of the shoulders just disappear. And now all of a sudden it's, wait up, let me hear this guy out. Let me see if he's real. Let me see if he's just pulling my leg. Now they're intrigued, they're hooked. And the fun can begin.
I love that. The fun can begin. Yeah, as soon as those shoulders have dropped and you're on their side and it's reciprocal, then you can actually get in there and help each other.
Absolutely. You know, just taking away the advantage that kids perceive adults have just for being the adult. It levels the playing field and it opens opportunities.
Like you said, street smarts over book smarts. And I definitely was raised in a place where I had to have a mix of both. And I remember Shakespeare said something along the lines of, you're in control of what words offend you and what words don't. And sometimes I find that so interesting in working with adults that they can get set off so easily by a word choice that a kid maybe flippantly uses. Like for them, it's like, whatever, no big deal.
Right.
But the adult gets so caught up in it that they almost stop listening to what the kid is saying because of their word choice.
Absolutely. I always tell my wife this, and I'm the parent that curses around his daughters. I have three girls, and we're always back and forth about is that how a man should act in front of his girls? And I'm trying to let them know, like, there's a time and a place for all things. You know, and it's not just when you're emotional, it's not just when you're upset. You can also curse when you're happy, you know, and yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was watching the Laker game the other night, and they were down, they were up, they won, and
Oh
F-bomb,
my
this,
God,
that, and
yeah.
the other, sure.
Yes.
And I hate to bring this up, this may be a sour point, but the World Series.
Ah,
What an amazing series.
yes.
Kudos to the Blue Jays,
Ah,
seriously. From
yes.
worst to first, that in and of itself should not be forgotten. And
Yes.
ultimately, truly, I do believe the Jays were the better team. It's just God was on the Dodgers side.
Yeah. 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 I was on the floor and my son was like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "You do not understand what's happening right now. It's slipping away. I can just see it going."
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, cursing in those moments of anxiousness and stress, but also joy and exhilaration. And it's funny how the moment dictates what can be good and what can be bad.
Hmm.
And so our kids look at us thinking and looking for that guidance, for that role model. But how often as humans are we fallible? And
Hmm.
so we misinterpret a moment and they observe that, they soak it up, and then they regurgitate it in their own lives, and then we call them out and hold them accountable for something that we did.
Hmm.
So restorative also to me is stepping back and looking at myself in the mirror, and as a
Hmm.
collective, leaders in the mirror, adults looking themselves in the mirror.
Zoom back and also see where you fit in
Oh,
to the
absolutely.
equation.
Part of the puzzle.
You mentioned that when you approach conversations, you kind of go in with this unscripted approach.
Yes.
Um, can you tell me about one moment that has affirmed this approach for you?
So in the classroom setting, typically you have a curriculum, you have a schedule, an agenda, a focus. And through education and my approach, I'm always prepared. I always have my questions, my slides. Dot your I's, cross your T's. But how often when you interact with anyone, but as far as this goes in the classroom, you have a student that's just not having a good day. You may
Mm.
have multiple students. One may have just lost a pet. One is worried about immigration and their parents right now. The other is high or drunk. They had a
Mm.
rough weekend. They had a rough night. They self-medicated, but they still showed up for the day. But they're just there for the safety and the comfort of the classroom. They're not there to learn. They're not there for the discussion.
Yeah.
And so an unscripted approach allows me to account for what anyone at any moment is going through, including myself.
Mm.
Leading up to this podcast, minutes on end, I started doubting and questioning. She's had PhDs on, she's had educators of 20 plus
Oh.
years. Who am I? It was a chance comment that I left on one of your posts on LinkedIn, and here we are. And we're sharing ideas and we're breaking down we're entertaining curiosities, breaking down walls, and whoever else finds this and tunes in, it may strike a chord in them and allow them the perspective and just another purview of whatever it is they're dealing with. And so I do love the unscripted,
Mm.
and the challenge of the chaos that comes with it. I think that brings my job to life in so many ways. It just it keeps me alive. You get into a routine and a rut sometimes, and you're on autopilot, and then you lose sight of the purpose and your calling. And so, yeah, that unscripted and the chaos, it's all part of it.
Thank you for being so open and sharing some of those thoughts that you had, even right before we met for the first time. And I think that's something we might take for granted as we digest other people's podcasts. We forget the human element that they went through to produce it for you or for
Absolutely.
themselves or like whatever that purpose is. Because I also get those thoughts on my end. Like people are always like, "What? People say yes to you? How do you get people to say yes?" And what I say is, I don't know, I feel like PhD or no title or 5 titles or 10 titles or like whatever your accolade is, like, um, I just see people as people.
Mm.
And so you are not your credentials. You could have the most credentials of anybody I've ever met, and you could be the biggest ass ever.
Yes,
We do not
absolutely.
we do not need to learn from people like that right now. So it's important that we spend time in spaces and conversations right now with people who have the right heart, not the right credentials.
That just echoes so deeply. And then I challenge all the adults and anyone else that watches this episode, take that philosophy and now apply it to the kids that we serve, our students, and
Hmm.
our colleagues. I think that opens just a clearer picture, if you will, of our interactions with everyone we come across.
I agree. So, moving on here just a little bit, how do you balance honesty with vulnerability when working with trauma exposed youth?
Still trying to figure that out.
Mm,
It's being human. There's no right or wrong, but there are moments. There time and place, time and space. Um, so I feel like the key is just establishing the trust. Once trust is established, then communication is less guarded, less calculative, if you will.
mm,
Um, there's always, when kids talk to adults, I always feel like they're trying to find the right words to either impress or make the adult feel like they're accomplishing their goal or scripted, if you will.
yeah.
Um, but if I, so case in point, not this past weekend, but the following weekend, we had to put our dog down.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's he had his time and he let us know, and we had 13 amazing years with Rolly.
Mm,
And so that Tuesday, I had circle in one of my classes. I was wondering what would be a good topic. And obviously, for me, it was grief.
mm,
And considering what a lot of our kids have gone through, the level of violence, the amount of death and suffering and pain, what an amazing topic to have.
mm-hmm.
But when do I share? What do I share so that the kids are aware that I feel what they're feeling? I'm confused and lost as much as they are, frustrated. Um, so I felt comfortable just sharing that I had recently decided we had to put our dog down.
Mm,
And I in the back of my mind, I'm worried about who am I going to trigger? What Pandora's box may be opened. But if at the core of the conversation, the discussion is just loss happens and feelings result of it, and what do we do and how do we do it, then I don't think anyone can be faulted for the discussion that was had.
mm,
And so vulnerability to me is also, especially as a man, there's still this expectation that men don't cry.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm aware of those male students in my audience who were raised to believe that, and a certain credibility I may lose with them if I get emotional and allow that emotion to come out. But I've often found that it's reciprocated. It is because I offer a safe space in circle or in discussion, the level of vulnerability is balanced on both sides. So if I started to cry, which I did, you could hear the voice crack and the tears well up in my eyes. The baddest, buffest, street kid all of a sudden is just, oh, there's something in my eye. Um,
Yeah.
so then all of a sudden it was just, we're just people talking
Mm.
about our losses and our feelings, and there was no expectation or there was no agenda. It was just communication.
I think that is such a beautiful setting to have with your students where you can talk and share. I work with some teachers on embedding some of these practices.
Mm.
And something that I sometimes come up against is this discussion of where they're like, well, I'm not a counselor and I'm not set up to handle these conversations.
Mm.
So I just try to avoid them if I can.
Sure.
Would there be any advice that you could offer to give them a little bit of courage around some of these practices that are so powerful that you know, are currently practicing with your students?
So the first thing that came to mind is my mantra. If not me, then who?
Mm.
It's so easy to pass the buck. It's so easy to reason with yourself and say, well, I'm not educated enough, or I've got enough on my plate. It's easy to say, well, I know someone for you, but who are we to dictate how our paths cross? I could be on a random walk and I could see a stranger crying. I don't know what they're going through, but I'm compelled to just let them know, I hope you're okay. I hope whatever you're dealing with, it'll pass sooner than later. And so what if that was the entry point? You know, we're parents, we're mothers, we're fathers. When we work with kids, to a degree, those kids are like our own. We want the best for them. We want them to succeed. We want them to overcome their challenges. But how do you do that if you pick and choose when you want to help? And so I always tell the kids as well, I'm not a therapist, and what we're about to embark on is not therapy, but it can be therapeutic.
Whoa.
And typically, so in one of my sites, I show up and the chairs are already in a circle. And these students don't necessarily know what they're in for. They just know it's a meeting with a Mr. Neal. What's going on? And as soon as they walk in through the door, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh God, group, what the hell is this? I didn't sign up for this. God,
You get
so
that?
disgusting all the time. The first time usually. And so before I even introduce myself, before I even get into what a circle is and the focus of it, guys, really clear. I am not a therapist. This isn't therapy. But if I earn your trust in what little time I'm given, this can be very therapeutic for you. And then towards the end, what I'll say is, if anything hit here, if the wheels are turning up here, then these are the individuals you should be aware of at your school site. And the school psych, the school counselor. And so for those who hesitate to engage in the difficult conversations, just start off with a conversation. And as the student opens up, then you formulate who is the right person as far as education, technicality, and all that professional stuff to pass them along to, as opposed to casting them aside.
You're so smart.
No, please. No. I just speak from the heart, and to go back to what I had said, the adult that I wanted and needed when I was a kid, it's no different from the adults that I know that these kids need. And I get it, we're all different individuals, but at the end of the day, seen and heard, safe, real, authentic, raw at times. And so I strive to be that individual for them, and even for my own children and for anyone I come across, truly.
Can you tell me what safe looks like for you?
Safe for me. I guess I never really thought about that. What is safe for me? Feeling welcomed, not being judged, being able to curse. I mean,
this episode is getting a big E.
Hearing you curse is allowing me to just be me, but at the same time, I'm like, this is a podcast. She is a professional. I've watched the other episodes.
You could be my second big E.
But I mean, safety is just allowing individuals to be themselves.
Yeah.
How often is the connection lost because we're psyching ourselves out?
Yeah.
Like, I need to be professional. What does that mean? I need to be proper.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why don't you just be you?
Yeah.
Let's figure that out, and then let's figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it does take a lot of unlearning. I remember when I was younger, I was in this choir and I actually got kicked out of it. And the reason why they kicked me out of it, this is the choir, you need to conform, and you're too much of an individual. So we're going to need to ask you to leave. And I remember, I think I was in grade 10, and that sent me for a bit of a loop for a bit, where I just missed out on this place that I felt so amazing in.
Right.
And because I am a wild personality, I didn't fit in. So But in time, and I think really this last decade, so I guess it did take a while, but this last decade is where I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, I just don't care anymore. And I feel like releasing that expectation that I held for so long of that the way to success is conformity,
Mm, that's deep.
that actually was like my prison, not my freedom.
It's funny that this topic manifested itself because I'm at a crossroads as far as my career. I'm in a great spot. I love what I do. I'm finally getting paid well to do what they ask of me.
Thank God.
Um, yeah, no, working with our youth, for whatever reason, it's backwards. The athletes get the multi-billion, million-dollar contracts,
Yeah.
and those with boots on the ground trying to raise the next generation, we get the scraps.
Yeah.
But even when I wasn't getting or paid well, I loved what I was doing, and it was all about the passion and the calling. But I'll say, I'm I am tired of conforming.
Mm,
I feel weighted down. I feel like whatever the universe, the land, the world is blessing me, it's constrained. And
mm.
so I'm just trying to figure out the avenue and the next step. And that was part of the motivation to say yes to your invite, was just to put myself out there and see where it lands. And just keep doing it until it lands.
I feel like this was meant to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm so curious. As you just mentioned, you're at a bit of a crossroads.
Sure.
How do you show up and stay so grounded when the work is so heavy?
I've entered my old man era. And what I mean by that is I'm the guy that's now up at 4:30 in the morning.
4:30.
Yeah, sometimes restless, sometimes rested.
Yeah.
But mine just million miles an hour. And so I'm going for walks now by myself and soaking in the silence. I'm having breakfast alone in the dark before the kids come in and all the lights are on and everything's slammed shut. And yeah. And then I just remind myself that it's a calling.
Hmm.
I noticed throughout my career, there are times where, the ego kicks in and I start feeling myself like, yeah, I did that. And yeah, I earned that. And then when things don't go my way, it's like, instead of praising and being happy for my colleagues, I'm jealous and a little frustrated and sad and enraged. And so it's a calling. And
Hmm.
whenever I allow whatever is coming in and out of me in a moment to just hit me the way it should and then release it the way it needs to be, I'm at peace. Leading up to you opening up the window, I was having that moment like, okay, this is your first podcast, and what if you answer wrong, and what if you're rambling, and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden I just reminded myself this was a chance opportunity. I left a comment based on a post. She saw value or worth or something in it, and that's why she called me to be here. And that's why we have this wonderful moment.
And it sure is. It just keeps getting better, man, as the clock ticks away. We're just creating this beautiful time. I love it so much. All right, let's jump into our myth busting section. These are some assumptions that might spark some reflection, and you can just roll with it however you see fit.
Hey.
Myth number one, I'm dropping it hot. Gang involved youth don't want help.
Definitely a myth. Misunderstood individuals, lost, um, a whole lot of good and a whole lot of fight and passion, but misguided. And so we have to look past the surface. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn quite often, and I've always seen the post about the tip of the iceberg that you see,
Yeah.
but everything else below the surface of the water. Well, we keep preaching that, but when can we finally start applying that with our youth? And if you talk about those that are institutionalized, I mean, come on, that's just the tip, the surface. How much more depth to that individual or those individuals truly is there?
Hmm. How long do you find that I guess every individual is different, but it sounds like kids would open up to you and trust you pretty quickly, or does it take a long time to develop their trust?
Every individual is different and it just depends. It's a struggle every day because there are expectations of the job. But I remind myself quite often, another cliche go-to phrase, plant the seed, or watching a pot of water when you want it to boil. You sit there, you stare at it, it may not connect in your time, even though it's the same amount of time it takes to heat up the water or for a plant to grow. So it's a constant reminder, just set it and forget it, and in due time it will happen.
Mm.
And I know that's next to impossible, especially in education when, that's the quarters, semesters, whatever it is, and you need to learn the X, Y, and Z by the end of, and there's all these limits and these seconds ticking away, and we often get lost in that and we lose sight of what it is. So there are times where the kid's like, I like this guy, and he or she opens up and we're just talking about life. And then they're most often the side eye, like, okay, this seems familiar. Let's see. But I usually connect the ones that open up to me right away to the ones that are suspect, or as the
Mm.
kids say, sus. Yeah, my girls heard me and they're laughing right now because I threw that out there. If all I'm focused about is how quickly I can engage a student, then how much of that is me feeding my ego than me
Mm.
trying to help? And I know that's a trap for a lot of us in education.
Yeah, that ego, man. It'd be a lot easier if we didn't have it being so loud.
Right. Uh, but it's a part of being human.
It sure is.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop into a next myth. Restorative justice is too soft to be effective.
Yeah. If you truly believe that, then I truly believe you were raised in just potentially a very emotionally cold, rough,
Mm.
distant, neglected home. And I hold that not against you, but it just lets me know you as that individual with that purview have a lot to unpack and a lot of self-work to do.
Mm.
If you look at the US right now, if restorative is so soft, why are we talking about social emotional learning? Why are we
Mm.
talking about connection? Why are we talking about bridging the divide between people, parties? Why are we trying to figure out how to just be and coexist? If you take that punitive approach, where is it taking us now, currently? And it's not just in the US. I've seen the news and I'm aware of a lot of the friction out in the world. And if you keep insisting that restorative is not the answer, but you keep doing what seemingly all world leaders are currently doing and sadly failing horribly, then maybe, just maybe, we should try to give that hippity dippity stuff a chance.
Kneel for president.
No, oh gosh. Advisor? Sure. Robin for president.
No, thank you. Well, I would be prime minister here,
Prime
but
Minister, Prime Minister.
it doesn't seem like people really like politicians.
Hey, it's a tough spot. I definitely don't. I'm not jealous of them or
Yeah, no.
no.
Yeah, no,
But
thank you.
someone's got to do it.
No, thank you. That's fantastic. My final question for you is a question that I love to ask all of my guests. And if you could get behind the lens and find one way or one actionable strategy that we could take to improve things in schools or in communities right now, what would it be?
Honestly, I would say more team building exercises with your people.
Hmm.
Um, the pizza parties, uh, they're nice. I mean, you serve it up when we're hungry, lunchtime, so of course it's gonna feel good. We're being nourished and whatnot, but I often, so no matter what the system is, it's only broken because of the people operating it.
Hmm.
So let's engage with the people, and eventually the system won't feel so broken.
Hmm.
So, in short, that would be my advice to anyone who's in charge right now, anyone that has a point of entry to your people. Engage them more and just watch what can be done and will be done. And then the kids see it and they feel it. And don't be so shocked if they start to engage a little more, and how amazing the classroom setting will become.
Unleash the power of the people.
Yeah, truly, truly.
Uh,
I love it. Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Behind the Educator's Lens. I feel
Thank
like
you.
a choice comment, as you mentioned, led us down to this beautiful conversation. And, if you're out there listening, I want you to be encouraged by this, that reaching out to make a connection can lead to a beautiful conversation and learning on both ends.
Absolutely.
Until next time on Behind the Educator's Lens.